Has your weekend suddenly cleared up? Because I know mine has. And so I put together, along with Shepard here, a couple anime shows that you can really enjoy. So let's get into it. All right, on today's episode of Anime with T, we're going to be exploring 5 anime that I recommend, along with Shepard here, to binge watch while you're stuck at home, if you happen to be stuck at home. These are shows that are both worthy to watch regardless of the situation, but we thought it'd be fun to do a couple since today, and probably a lot of people are sitting around today. So not all of these anime are on the single streaming service. Unfortunately, as things have spread out, it's harder to find these ones, but they're on a combination of Funimation, VRV, and Hulu, and maybe possibly Netflix. Again, it's such a cluster out these days. It's hard to find anything. So we put together 5 shows in no particular order that we think you should check out. So we're going to start out here with his first one, which is, go ahead.
Samurai Champloo. I believe it's only 1 season, and not too many episodes on there. The basics of the storyline, because I don't want to give anything away, obviously, so you can binge watch it. But the simplest, you're following the 3 characters you can see right now on the screen. Far left there, you have Fu. The middle, you have Mugen. And then you have Jin, Jin. It's kind of fun because they say it different. Kind of sounds always different the way they say it. Simple storyline. They're all just pretty much Fu's trying to find someone who killed her dad, or believe in trying to find her dad. Bunch of storylines happen. You're getting to follow these 3, and I think the biggest drawaway for me with the show was definitely a lot of good character development, a lot of fun character following. You get to enjoy all the different characters. Each one of them is someone different, and actually, Shepard or Fox, for you, actually the far right character there, Gene, actually reminded me a lot of you.
That's funny. I've only seen. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say he's just a very studied person, very calm, and then like when he does stuff, it's kind of like that logical, like, well, I'm gonna do something. It should be for that, and it's really funny between the two because Mugen's character then is the extreme hothead, the extreme just kind of rash, and again you see it within everything from their attitudes to even their fighting styles as they discuss it. And pretty much the fun part between Mugen and Jean is that they want to kill each other, but then they stop to help out Fu, and then they kind of go on their journey. So that's all I'll say for it. But like I said, if you want to get to one that definitely gives you some good feels, both just some great laughs, but a good storyline, that rainy day type fun thing that's like, you know what, I want to have some fun on there, but I also want to think. Definitely a great show. Probably one of the first ones I actually getting into anime was probably one of the first ones I watched after Trigun.
Yeah, I know it's a highly respected anime. I've only watched the beginning of it. I need to get farther into it. So what's nice is...
Oh, and the music is fantastic. If you're kind of...
yes.
It's kind of that draw from... It's the... How would you put it? Asian fusion hip-hop?
I think that's well.
I mean, it's the Asian music, but they love doing the hip-hop sounds and that kind of stuff.
It's a very musically driven show from what I've seen in just the first 2 epissodes. Which is great because both these shows are ones I know. Both shows that you have on here I've never finished, and our 5th show we both agree and have seen. But our first 2 picks for both of us are shows that we have never seen, each other's have never seen. So this one falls into the action genre for me. A little, obviously these are all pretty much, all these are very adult shows. We don't have any harem style ones on this list. That these are very these are very stylistic shows. Well, I don't think
we tried to keep it somewhat family friendly.
Yeah, I mean they're adult shows, and there's adult themes in them, but they're not the like harem style shows. If you watch anime, you don't come out there. These are more action geared toward. Well, that show is. So moving on from pick number 1, we're gonna move to number 2 here, which is Fruits Basket. I have not watched the original 2001 version, but me and my wife have watched the 2019 version, and we both love it. It is a romantic comedy with a level of fantasy in it. It is very cute. It is a very cute show in all the positive ways. The characters are great. They're fleshing them out. In fact, there's a lot of fun interaction to it, and there's a lot of feels. It's definitely another feel show. So that's one thing I think I agree on, that a lot of these shows have some deep moments in them, and this is one of those shows that have some great moments because it's all about the characters. It's a very like I'd call it, you almost, it's a, so this show is a slice of life rom-com with the fantasy element. It's a lot of fun. It's very cute. The first season, I believe, is 24 episodes long, so it's worth watching. And if you really, really want to watch farther into it, you can go back and watch the original 2001 version, which I've also heard good things about. So that is my number one pick. Like I said, I don't want to spoil things in it because there's a lot to spoil. And I will say that as it goes, it does progress the story. There are still some mysteries after season 1 here, but good news, there is a season 2 coming, which doesn't always happen to every show, so you will not be stuck in the lurch forever. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 3, which is Shepard's second choice here, and
Assassination Classroom. I mean, there's so much to say for this show. I love this show. I think this is really probably one of my top favorites of everything I've watched so far. I love many other animes, but simple synopsis: the creature in the middle there blew up the moon, and he then says that he's going to blow up the Earth in a year from now, and he works with the government, or pretty much makes a demand of the government, says the only way you can maybe try and capture me or hold on to me is I want to teach this I guess you call them pretty much the remedial class of one of the highest high schools. So, they're one of the top high schools in Japan, but the kids in this class are the failing classes. So these are the kids who are made fun of because of that stuff. And then they're given the opportunity to then assassinate their teacher. So even from that own explanation, it is as zany as it sounds. At the same point, there is just wonderful connections between all the classmates. You actually get to learn about every single classmate in a good way. Each storyline there's development for each one of them. You get to follow some more of them. You get to see them grow, and then you get to see the relationship between them and, as they start calling him, Koro Sensei, because it's the killing teacher, the teacher we need to kill. But then you have it, and it all ends. It ends. I wasn't expecting this to go as emotionally and truly as many feels as I did for the show, especially by the end of it. As like I said, they're trying to kill their teacher, and at first you think he is a bad guy, and it's not that he isn't, but there's more to it, and there's so much more. There's so many questions, and what makes me happy is there's so many questions, and they answer them throughout the episodes. Then they kind of bring more and bring more. So you are always wanting to find out what happens. I actually just rewatched it again, I think for like the third time, because my girlfriend was like, "Oh, I hadn't watched it yet," and she was coming over and watching a few episodes. She's like, "Oh, is it okay if I watch a few?" I'm like, "Yep. Oh yeah, we're good. You sit back," and I'm sitting there going, knowing what's about to happen. I'm like, "Yeah, when you see me crying, don't worry, it's fine. I'm a grown man, but I'm gonna cry." So I wonderful show. A lot of fun. You're gonna be happy, sad, crying, and then at the same time just rolling on the floor laughing for half of this. I mean, it is wonderful.
I do look forward to watching this one. This is one that's high in my list of ones to watch. We'll do a breakdown. A lot of these shows we'll do. I was gonna say, a lot of these shows deserve much longer, in-depth breakdowns, but I don't want to spoil things for you. We don't want to spoil things for you. And without, we just want to be able to send you off and go, here's a short video. Here's some cool things that you should go watch. Go out and watch them and enjoy. And so we won't.
That being said, I do plan on actually reviewing this one a little bit with one of my friends, bring him into studio with me to bring it, because we've already watched it. But that being said, then I would love to then, after you have watched it, to come back and review it again one more time and getting someone's new opinion. Because like I said, I know I've watched it enough and I'm ready to review it with a good friend on it. But I want to hear what you think about it, especially since this is one that I highly recommend to many, like anyone who wants to get into a good anime. If you're even just thinking of a good cartoon show, you're not really trying to get into anime, but you just want a cartoon show. I know there's a difference, but trying to make it easy for everyone. this is great. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna find something you can take from it. Again, there's not in a like inappropriate way. There is adult themes, and there's some stuff that gets brought in there that you go, wow. You asked some questions of stuff that I wasn't expecting to hear from a show about a bunch of teenagers trying to assassinate their teacher,
alien teacher. Yeah,
it's great.
Well, and speaking of adult themes, my number 2 pick here and our 4th in the row is one that appears to be a cutesy show. The animation style, with the characters and the age of the characters, you start out thinking this show is a kiddie show, and then you start watching it and you start realizing no, this is not a kid show. You have not seen this one, right? I just want to make sure.
I have not seen this one. No. You did recommend it, but I haven't started it yet.
So Maiden Abyss is essentially a fantasy adventure show. They are living around this essentially a giant hole in the ground. They call it the Abyss, and hence the name of the show, but it has more layers to that as well. And essentially there's creatures, and the deeper you go, the more things are awful. And the show begins, it's kind of a dungeon crawling type game type parallel. I've heard that used. Mother's Basement did a whole in-depth on that, and I thought was really, really well put. But the characters are actually put in situations that are surprisingly adult, and even the good characters and bad characters so far have a lot of layers to them. So there's a character you meet at a point, and you're like, oh wow, this is this character a villain or a anti-hero character? And they're kind of both. Like I said, there's a lot of nuance to the characters, a lot of elements to them. The characters aren't very black and white in this show. Beyond really our main heroes are pretty black and white on that, but the situations they're put in, there's a near the end of the show of this season, they are making, I think there's a made-for-TV movie coming out, and then they're also doing, I believe, I could be incorrect on this, a second season. So, but I'm hoping they finish. Even the first season was really well done, and the storytelling and the character development, deeper they go deeper into the characters. And this is another show that I applaud, similar to what I applaud in a show like Trigun, where they do put the characters in situations and then force them to answer answer and deal with the situation they put in. They don't always get off in the
repercussions of those decisions.
Yeah, they don't get to be like, oh, everything's fine because of fairies and rainbows. There's a lot of things that happen.
Well, I was gonna say, I know we're talking about the why best animes, but I think that's why I feel like anime is a lot better than cartoons a lot of times. Just using what's big is the sense of there is a continuing storyline. It's not it's not Peter Griffin loses a job at the end of Family Guy in the next episode. It's there's nothing left after there. Like you said, someone makes a decision, and these are actual storylines.
Yeah, and this is one continuous story as well. This is one big story where something like Fruits Basket is one story, but like I said, more of a slice of life element to it. This is one adventure going down, and each episode is an individual episode, but it's the full adventure of what it is. And like I said, this is a very binge watchable show because the pace moves. It kind of starts out a little slower, only because they're giving you a little bit of history and background to this universe because it's its own universe and explaining to it. And so far, like I said, this is one of I think it won 2017 Best Anime, I believe, 2017, and it, in my opinion, did deserve at least what it got because it is one of those animes that surprise you with how good it is. I can't really speak highly enough of this one. It's one I recommend to people because the only thing that throws you off at the beginning and actually kind of as you get used to it is the art style, because it is much younger art style. It's a softer art style, but it's kind of in almost contrast to the adult themes, and especially later on in the show that you're like, oh wow, they went there. And my wife was watching with me, and I'm like, she's like, really? She's like, oh god, they're doing that. I'm like, yep, because I had seen it before. So I watched this one twice, and I'll definitely look forward to watching it again, especially when they do the next one. So
I'll be looking forward to watching it myself.
Yeah, you definitely should watch this one. So I actually would probably, if you were like, which one should I watch? watch Fruits Basket with your girlfriend and watch this one with her too if you want.
By myself.
But watch this one. Well, you can watch. I mean, it's not one of those ones. But I would say though, this one's one I'd put higher in the sense of watching because it's just so good. Like I said, you'll sit down and just binge watch it through. And I don't think it's not a very long show. So this fifth and final one is one that's, even though Shepard doesn't know which one it is right now because I put this one together, but I know he's seen it. He's actually recommended this one to me, and I really enjoyed it. I have not seen season 2 of this one, which has its own little arc, but season 1 is quite excellent. I know I pretty much binge watched this one in maybe 2 days, and it was really good. And Steins Gate.
Yes.
Steins Gate's really an excellent show with probably one of the best time travel storyline dynamics outside of something like Doctor Who. This one's a lot more sciencey based logic.
This one's very brainy. This is one that
you
do want to really pay attention as you are watching it. Like, obviously you can binge it, but it's like it's not one of those ones that you go, oh, I've binged 2 episodes and let me kind of make dinner while I watch this 3rd episode.
True.
No, you got to sit back for every episode of this. You got to watch it if you really want to understand what's going on.
Yes, I agreed. And some great characters in it across the board. It's a fun show. There's one or two that I'm like, there's interesting. But the time travel and some of the funny things that happen in it is really, really well done.
I love the dialogue too. Just the basic dialogue of it all is just it's wonderful. It's fun.
It's a show that they're talking about making this into a movie, and it just makes me go, I don't think this series will translate well to a movie.
No.
Due to the fact that since it's about time travel and little changes, the long format works for it because you're dealing with a little bit of repetition of storylines, repetition of characters dealing with stuff and realizing stuff through it. And so the closest I could compare it to, without, and this isn't a spoiler comparison, would be Live, Die, Repeat. I forget the original name of that one was. Was the one? Yes, one with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Edge of
and
Tomorrow,
Emily Blunt. They changed the name after, I don't even know what the official name is anymore. But Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, one of those two names, you can find it. And that is probably the closest example. And I think that was actually based off an anime as well, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a graphic novel.
I think you're right.
That was based off of. And that show dealt with kind of repeating things like a video game kind of, and learning from the repeating and living and dying and Live, Die, Repeat, the name of the story. But that one did a good job because you're watching a character kind of progress by learning what not to do. And there's, 1,000 times he dies in the movie, or more. It could be tens of thousands of times that he actually dies in the movie. And so as he makes little changes to the future, his path goes along. It's like I said, it's very video game like if you think about it. Where you're like, oh, I can't do that.
Keep restarting a checkpoint and
there's a bit of a checkpoint.
How to beat that. Yeah.
And this has a slight element of that. It's not as huge in this case, but that's why I think that the movie idea is. I'll have to do some more research on. We'll deal with it later. But the show itself, though, is worthy of watching. It is really excellent. There's also, like I said, there's a second season which I haven't finished yet, mostly because it delves into things that I was like, oh no, I don't want to get quite into it yet until sit down and be able to watch it. But again, the characters are very strong in this show. It is funny, and if you like time travel, you got the kind of spectrum here of time travel, fantasy, romance, trying to give you the full swing, so you can literally watch a couple episodes of one and switch over to the other if you're having a different mood. Any other final thoughts on Steins Gate?
No, like I said, great one to watch. Like I said, a definitely brainy one. You want to sit back and really pay attention a lot more. If you truly want to appreciate it all the way through, you can easily get lost. I mean, you walk away 2 minutes in the first episode, you're going to be lost.
Yes, make sure you, especially the first 2 episodes, I'd say, definitely pay attention because there's a lot of little things there. And it's like I said, some of the little quips of I remember watching it. I had to go back because sometimes I do generally watch the dubs of these shows, and so I know I'm a sinner. And there were some times that they would say something, and I'm like, wait, what did they just say? And I had to go and watch and pull down the subtitles because there are little lines of humor in there where they're teasing each other, and you're like, they just say what I thought they said. Oh, okay, they did say what I thought they said.
See, I'm just the ultimate nerd because I do it in the dub, but then I still have subtitles on because I can make sure. So, because just sometimes it's just easy to just want to be able to read everything. But and I'd be curious, anyone watching, you like which do you like? Do you like doing the sub or the dub? You know, sometimes it's kind of a fun game I like to play. Is I'll listen to it in like the dub version and hear the English voices and go like, okay, and then hear the subtitle, you know, the Japanese, and go okay, and then decide which one I like the voices better of. Because sometimes it's like. It's fun. I know for like the shows I've mentioned myself, I think I've watched both Assassination Classroom in both English and then the Japanese on there. And I'm trying to remember which one I prefer. I prefer the Japanese and actually Assassination Classroom better than the English.
Okay. You know, the sub versus dub argument is a long running fight between the groups. Who is right, and it comes down to I accept the level that sometimes you're not getting the same original storytelling and elements in it, but sometimes it's nice to be able to listen to a show versus reading
having to
it.
Read when it's a really long comment and you're like, I have to read I'm trying to read the subtitle, understand it, whereas it's easier to at least be able to hear it.
And I think the one that I would say in general, if I was to say a genre that the dub generally deals with things better, is comedy. And the only reason for that is like a show like Shomanetta, where the timing matters. And if you haven't seen the show, another recommendation, but that's more the really adult one.
That's really adult.
Yeah, it is MA. Almost all these shows are actually. I think Steingate's is TV-14, but almost all these are MA actually, and that one's very MA.
Yeah.
But it is, and no, it's not the H word. But is a very, very funny show, and there's rants in it, and the quipping back and forth. Again, I don't know how often they change things to fit, Western type of humor in it, but I'm guessing in general, especially on these older dubs, they're trying to keep inside the gist of it, right? Because size jokes translate, I think, to any culture.
Right. So to your point though, because there's I know for Assassination Classroom, one of the moments that really kind of came into my mind, because again I watched it originally in the Japanese, and there's a point where the characters are fighting then Americans, in a sports team, and then to mess with them they start speaking English. So you're actually having the Japanese guy go oh, hey, you need to come over here, American. Come on, cowboy.
They do that in Steins,
but then you watch it in the English, and you're already hearing them speak English, and then they're speaking to the Americans in English, and then they go hick. And it's they're almost the funniest thing, because then they're like, well, how do we do another extra English accent if it's already in English? And they're like, oh, hey there, cowboy, why don't you come on over here? And I was like, oh, man, okay, that might be a moment. It makes sense when you're doing, language changes. That makes sense to be in the language it's supposed to be in.
No, that's a good example. Really Steingate does something similar. Steingate has a similar moment where he's
also on that. Obviously, one of my favorite words I think of Japanese then is baka. So it's whatever, someone's an idiot or stupid, it's baka, baka ne. It's so great, and I think it's which show is it? I think it's Soul Eater. There's a character that's called Excalibur, and he just calls everyone an idiot. So he's just always baka, baka, just all the time. Is wonderful. So I enjoy that so much.
Funny. I need to watch that one as well.
You will have to just even look up Excalibur or Soul Eater and just watch the little scene.
Is that the sword? Is that the talking sword?
It's the sword. It's the sword.
Okay.
Creature. Yeah.
Okay,
He's always
I've heard.
He's like, idiots, no, baka. And then he's like, let me tell you my story. Da 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 da. Baka.
Yeah, that's funny. That is pretty funny. Oh.
I would say one other final note, if anything. I know it's not on our list, and it's not a TV show worth binging, but I think you'll agree with me. You're the one who showed me this one. You showed me this one, and I think it's on Netflix now. It wasn't when I originally did, so I actually had to purchase it, and it was the next day afterward I saw it was on Netflix. But it's Silent Voice.
The movie. Yes.
That movie, Silent Voice, I think is a wonderful. Just like I said, if you're maybe looking for something, you're looking for something deep and enjoyable at the same time, though, because after watching it, then I showed my girlfriend the same thing, and she was like, "Wow!" And I said, "Yeah." I was a little bit bummed seeing that it was on Netflix after I wanted to watch it, but at the same time, I was more than happy to spend the money and say thank you, because that was a great story. That was a great story for anyone who wants to watch that.
I agree. So on that note, thank you for joining us on this quick little video about anime. Grab some tea, go watch some anime, and have a good day. Thank you.